That's it. Now Yoshi-P is definitely gonna give me some of Daddy's This is the part of the YouTube video where I remind you that
What did I just watch? Okay. I didn't expect that. Alright, so we are watching Lucy Pyre's video, 10 things you should never talk about in Final Fantasy XIV. Because, yeah, maybe we already talked about stuff like that. And I'm excited to see if we did something wrong or if we are just in, yeah, pace and acceptance of Square Enix or whoever makes these rules. Let's find out together.
Hey, you want to know how to start a keyboard war in Final Fantasy XIV? My big manager told me I really need to rebrand this video if I don't want to get banned, so allow me to rephrase the question. Do you know how to avoid arguments in 14? I'm just going to assume you said no, because otherwise this video is completely useless. Don't even worry about it, human, because I have spent a lot of my time wasting my time lurking on subreddits, discords, YouTube comments, and even the dreaded official forums section. And now I have my hands on the bleeding heart of this best ever community. Whatever you do, do not use these and throw them into Reddit like a hand grenade and run away before the place explodes. This video is meant to help people avoid embarrassing and controversial situations in game. I'll even name it something real clickbaity like never talk about these 10 things in Final Fantasy XIV.
I've seen one video of her, but that was okay. Yeah, I think we're talking about stuff that's not only restricted by Final Fantasy XIV creators and developers and Yoshi-P, Team Yoshida, but also by the community, right? So, yeah, let's see how that continues. I'm a bit frightened, I have to admit. That went 0 to 100 real quick. Yeah, it does. It did.
That's it. Now Yoshi-P is definitely gonna give me some of Daddy's This is the part of the YouTube video where I remind you that liking, commenting, and subscribing to the Cringe Empire lets you see a special secret rap at the end of every video. And when you subscribe to my channel, one blue mage casts self-destruct. Join the good fight, human. Alright, so the first and probably most infamous argument starter,
Devil
should
will like
healers
that.
have to DPS? If you weren't there back in the 2.0 to 3.0 days, here's the gist. If a healer wanted to deal decent damage, they needed to use Cleric stance, which swapped their mind stat to intelligence. This meant you couldn't heal for shit until you turned it off. Then in 4.0, they removed the skill and made healer damage scale off of the mind stat. So now that it's piss easy to deal damage, it's no longer socially acceptable to drool all over the keyboard while spamming Cure 3 on single target. Nowadays, the majority of healers will DPS without issue, but anti-healer DPS trolls will come crawling out of their graves if you bring up the topic in any way, shape, or form. Save yourself the headache and just don't. Trust me. Number 2, and let me know if this—
Okay, I think we should talk about each step here after she mentioned that, because that's basically a 10 different things we should talk about. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Healing as a healer, dealing damage is so easy now, and she made the perfect example with the cleric stance back in the days where you had to sacrifice your healing output and your healing capabilities to deal damage, and that has changed significantly. So yeah, there's no excuse now anymore. I always feel like if anybody thinks about the example, what brings this to the party if you just spam an AoE heal when every party member is at full life, or you're just not doing anything at all except waiting to let your MP regenerate, and then when the boss casts something, then you reply with a healing spell. No way. That's just totally stupid, and if some people don't understand that, they just don't know how the game works. Sorry. That's basically how the game works, and the designers are clearly with it right now because of how much damage healers can deal possibly. So yeah, that's definitely something. No argue about that. No argue about that. It's just facts.
Fight instinct. You pull it, you tank it. I feel like this one isn't really specific to 14. It probably haunts other MMOs too, but this argument comes up every other day on forums. Some players think only tanks should pull, and that it's extremely rude to do it for them. And the other side thinks it's more rude to waste other people's time and not go at the pace that the party wants. There's a lot of other stuff that gets argued about when it comes to large pulls, like tank or healer skill, whether the DPS are using AoE proc properly, lower broken gear. I could keep going, but I'd rather eat at a Burger King than see this argument rehashed ever again. 3. This topic
Okay, so yeah, I agree. That's actually a mixed bag, and I think there are good arguments for both sides because it's kind of a bit toxic if you just pull and not be a tank, and it makes the job for the tank a bit harder because he can't be face aggroing the enemies there, and sometimes just they are running past him towards the healer, and he has to be very precise with dealing the AoE damage in certain very difficult time frames at that point. So as soon as you're not the tank and you're pulling, you're making the tank's job more difficult. On the other hand, I have a perfect example. I think 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went into a dungeon where I was just standing slightly too close with my dancer towards the next pack, and I pulled it. Not intentionally, really, not intentionally. And he was just going out of his place and out of his mind and blamed me like, if you do that again, dude, I will kill you. And I was like, please calm down. That was really not my purpose. I didn't want to. I'm sorry. It never happens again. So yeah, I think people should just be chill. Just try their best to pull as much as they can. And some other players like healers and DPS jobs should not pull anything because that makes basically the tank's job harder. Just my 2 cents.
This topic flies under the radar sometimes, but usually comes back around anytime a cool-looking Mog Station item gets released. Not much to say here. Some players just really hate the fact that there's a cash job in a subscription-based MMO. Pretty silly, right? I mean, there's just so much content in the game that no one ever unsubs anyway. Can't believe they expect these items to be available with in-game events or actual quests or something. Other people don't care and see it as a way to support the devs beyond just paying their sub. This one split about 50-50, but the people who don't like it tend to really not like it, so just steer clear. Number 4, and this one's a biggie. Never tell someone that you find the job they play really easy. I mean it, human. Don't you dare. There's this weird sense of...
Okay, first of all, the in-game shop, I think it's kind of okay. I'm not a big fan of in-game shops because, you have a monthly subscription already, and I think games where you don't have any monthly subscription or you don't even have to buy the game because it's for free, that's okay when you have skins and all that stuff and you buy this. But Final Fantasy XIV is, I would say, it's kind of fair with the prices on the Mog Station, so it's not too bad either. So I accept that as a fact that it's there, but I can understand people that claim it's totally dog shit. But here, I think this time we can react to this first, and I love this claim because people are going mad at you. They are going crazy if you say that this job's easy. I have experienced that so many times. Like, dude, Summoner isn't that easy. Like, it really is easy right now. And I feel like the consensus on the Summoner is better than on other jobs, but on some jobs, really discussion goes wild then. And if you claim that a certain job is easy, you're a dead man.
Really easy. I mean it, human. Don't you dare! There's this weird sense of pride players have about their job being considered difficult by the vast majority of the community, and if you tell them you don't think it is, it kinda hurts their ego. I mean, some people will be cool about it and agree with you, but I don't recommend taking the risk. If you really just want to watch the world burn, make sure you say that Dancer and Summoner are difficult. As of 6.0, the community has decided you could play these jobs with your toes while eating a messy burrito and mid-brain aneurysm. Reminder, never go against the hive mind, human. And jumping off of that, number 5, don't tell people that you think the game itself is hard either. Listen, if you're new to the game, it's only natural you find it challenging, at least at first. Some people have a tendency to forget that we haven't all been playing this game from the moment we escaped our mother's womb prison. If you mention that you find any main story dungeons or solo instances difficult, you will be made fun of on the internet. They will go to great lengths to explain why the game is pitifully easy easy casual bait. If the idea of that terrifies me, I can only imagine you're shaking in your boots right now. My best advice is to not take it personally. The entire community has a bit of gamer PTSD due to trials being made easier and easier over time. It's a bit of a sore subject. Number 6 without the 9. Now don't feel
Okay, so I think this is really a very, very difficult thing and something we should explore a bit more. Let me put this up again. This game is really easy if you are playing it since maybe, Heavensward or even before that. Because of how much the game is repeating itself with the content it's producing and putting out to the player. And you're expecting something more if you're constantly playing this game. The thing is, you're so used to the mechanics because of how repetitive they are at some point that it really gets easy for you. But like I said, for example, the Magus trio that we just fought in the dungeon, in the Tower of Zod. In all honesty, if you're a newcomer to the game and you just played through all this stuff, you learned, if you just played it in a normal way and you learned yourself, got yourself to a very solid state of awareness of battle mechanics through playing through Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringers. But this boss is really, really, really demanding. You have a lot of stuff happening. You have a lot of stuff to dodge there. So I would say this game is exactly where it should be on a difficulty level. When you're starting it, and it might be slightly too easy when you're a veteran. But therefore, we have ultimate content, savage content, and extreme trials that definitely make up for it. And if you really want something difficult, play Elden Ring. You should have a solid difficulty level in an MMO, of course, even though you're not being on a true emphasis on PvP. PvE should always be demanding, and I think that's perfectly fine because we have these different ways of level in certain encounters. But yeah, I think the whole problem about the community being so aggressive on this topic is because they're just trying to get acceptance out of this. Because every time you say something is hard and you beat it, you're just a better gamer. Like, you're just a better human being, and that's just how it is, right? That's basically if somebody studies law and that's supposed to be a very tough academy topic or sector, that's considered, hey, he did it, he succeeded with this this part of his studies. But it is how it is. Sometimes people just are looking for some appreciation, some acceptance, whatever. It is how it is. The game is not hard. I can't deny that. It's not a hard game in particular, just if you play hard content there. Her totally serious Endwalker tier list video is hilarious. Yeah, I think we could check out more. The start really got me. In all honesty, the combination of this being presented by a VTuber, but also the voice acting by, I think it's a lady. I just have my good claims there. That could be a lady. And she's very, very heavy on the tempting side of things. So she's playing with that. She's playing perfectly with that attitude, and she's playing with that idea very, very nicely, and I like that a lot. I'm still a man, right? So yeah, she's presenting it in a very cool style and very unique style, combined with that little sexual tone and mood under it, because she's clearly supposed to be a succubus, maybe, if I'm right. You guys know more about Lucy. I don't know, but I think she's also calling us humans. So she's trying to be in a third person and try to distinguish herself from being a human. So that's basically what she's a demon or anything like that. Succubus, maybe. If the healer's one that pulls ahead, that's fine because he's telling you you can handle it. But the second a DPS does that, it's his issue. Yeah, I would say that's the thing. But you can also be a bit too aggressive as healer, so be careful of playing with other players and not annoying them too much and getting out too much stress on them. Personally, I think if you want the tank to go faster, you should play tank. Yeah, I agree with that. Magistry is quite the wake-up call for someone that did only MSQ without being careful. Yeah, exactly. Magistry is really, really tough. A tough boss designed.
9. Now don't feel bad if you've done this, because this one is a topic
Wait, we skipped something, right?
terrifies me. I can only imagine you're shaking in your boots right now. My best advice is to not take it personally. The entire community has a bit of gamer PTSD due to trials being
The
made
ice,
easier
dude.
and easier over time. It's a bit of a sore subject. Number 6 without the 9. Now don't feel bad if you've done this, because this one is a topic I myself haven't learned to shut up about. To put it simply, don't talk about job design. I mean, don't talk about it being good or bad, because no matter which opinion you have, someone will very strongly disagree with you. Definitely don't mention that you think a certain job is OP or needs to be nerfed. We don't take kindly to nerf and talk round these parts, cowboy. Don't be like me, kids. There is no winning here. Only the
good.
destruction of long-time friendships awaits you if you walk down this dark path. And for lucky number 7, we have plugins. Yeah.
That's also something that's very important, and I have to admit it's important to talk about bad job design. It's super important because if you figure out that there is bad job design running over it or being part of any job, the only way to fix that is to call it out, to find it out, to call it out and talk about it. And I think especially the hype about people being angry about it and that you are calling out their job is what actually gets it to the bigger stage of attraction. So this is kind of necessary, the necessary step to call out jobs or job designs, especially when it comes to balancing that are too powerful or anything like that. But yeah, I also do agree with this aspect that I like the approach of Yoshi P and the team that they try to buff other jobs instead of nerfing jobs, because that's always the better approach, that's always the more positive vibe, and should always be a good thing to do. And of course, if there's bad job design, I love the summoner right now, but if people are telling me, and more than 50% of people are telling me, no, it's not, I'm not there. I'm not blocking your opinion, and I'm trying to emphasize on this and trying to understand, hey, okay, I like it because I'm maybe a simple brain, but most people in this game have larger brains. They have 5 heads. Most of people in Final Fantasy XIV have 5 heads, so they just think like, this is too simple. Come on, get it on the better level. And I agree. And we have to talk about that. We have to call that out and spread awareness on this topic. So this is definitely, no matter what people may call you names for or whatever, or maybe Will Smith will just join the stage and give you a bitch slap because you called out his job. It needs to be done. It needs to be done.
Plugins! Yay! Obligatory warning that talking about this in game can get you banned, so straight up, don't do it. Unless the idea of being in Yoshi P's naughty player dungeon gets you all hot and bothered.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I regret that one. So anyway, there's debate over how plugins should be used. Some are okay with parsing DPS numbers, but draw the line at using plugins that give them unfair advantages, like 100% accurate mechanic callouts or lowering their ping down to 0. And, modding every girl character to be automatically naked and well endowed both on top and, down below. You can imagine why there's some controversy here. Honestly, I think many people are scarred by the WoW debacle, where the devs began designing encounters with plugins in mind. And people don't want that to become the standard here. Me personally,
Yeah.
I would love to see content designed with Fuda Cat girls in mind. For number 8,
Yeah.
take my word for it and
Okay, exactly. I think I pointed that out quite in the same way, or with the same idea in my last video where I talked about things that can get you banned in Final Fantasy XIV and plugins and all that stuff. And I would agree to 100% that I would hate if they design mechanics and encounters in the way that they're requiring you to have certain tools running. And that's horrible. Never. Horrible. Like I said, if that makes your game easier and you can't do the mechanic properly, you should maybe just try to improve, because it's your fault then at that point. If some people have, there were some comments about this, some people have disabilities, for example, and need those tools because, yeah, I guess there was actually one guy that told me that he's playing with one arm. He just has one arm available. So, of course, they need those tools. Of course. Like, they are already in a disadvantage from the start. So if these people use tools to get rid of that disadvantage and get on the same balance level that like the other players do, that's perfectly fine. So it's a kind of mixed bag. And yeah, when talking about all these nude patches and mods, dude, come on, it's all people's opinion. They should do that whenever they like, because you can see that as a player when somebody's walking around with a 10-inch dick, whatever. 10 inch, is that actually? Yeah, you can see that dick. That's the thing. If somebody walks around like that, it's not your problem because you can't see it. If somebody sees it on his own screen, we should not care, and Square should not care as well. And I think they don't. They don't, as long as you don't spread that awareness across social media and all these platforms. It's totally fine to use it without any problem. Oh, you were talking about plugin designed encounters, not the endowed cat ghosts. Yeah, if like I said, do what you must, become what you must, and if that consists of having 3 dicks, you're the 3-dick master of darkness. I don't know, whatever.
8, take my word for it and do not criticize the story. I mean, you can get away with talking bad about A Realm Reborn and sometimes Stormblood, but if you so much as imply that Heavensward and Shadowbringers aren't the absolute pinnacle of storytelling, you will be met with stinky samurai swords at the ready. It's totally fine if the story isn't your thing, but I don't recommend going around telling people how boring and stupid you find it, because the vast majority of us at least somewhat enjoy, if not simp, for the story of this game. This is not like every other MMO community where the story being bad is universally accepted. Let's just put it that way. 9 might seem kind of obvious, but if you...
Okay. Yeah, agree. You should try to be careful, because the story not only is something of consisting of personal interest or somebody likes that story, but it attaches somebody emotionally. So I can understand if people are getting aggressive, even abusive, if you tell something bad about the story. It's not something I accept, it's something that I would do personally myself, but I can understand why that happens, because this story drags you in so intensively that you build connections to the characters, to the world itself, and to the story, so that everything about it that's being pointed out negatively could actually hurt you emotionally. And I would say people have problems if that is the case, and should try to help themselves in the first place. But I can understand why there's so much anger if people are disrespecting the story or having some issues with it. And there are issues. This story is not perfect. The story is not presented in a perfect way. It could always be improved. Like, we could always have cutscene dialogues basically every time. That would be the perfect thing. Or we could always have every little sort of dialogue being voiced. It can be improved. Never underestimate that this is a fact. It would be better. It would definitely be a better quality. But yeah, there might also be some stuff happening inside of the story. I have some problems with certain plot twists in Endwalker. Not problems, but I would say I could have thought about something that would satisfy me more than what they did. It's a great conclusion. It's a great finale to the whole Heidelin, Zodiac, and Ascian whatever plot. But I think there are some aspects that could have just been better. That's my claim, and I think it's safe to say it should be an opinion, and nobody should give you exact. No, never state that this is fact. Like, this is just your opinion, and that's fine. And people should be old enough and wise enough to overcome their own anxiety and their own emotional attachment to that storyline, and think about other people that might not just like it, or people might just don't like the story at all. Like they are not interested in playing RPG, Final Fantasy, or fantasy story in general. So that's fine. Accept that. We're not here to gatekeep. I used to do something like that because I was actually emotionally attached to the 5.3 ending, exactly what happened for me. And I was thinking about, dude, Lynx, that was the best example. Lynx Camelli, another creator that has canceled his career for Final Fantasy XIV content creation. He made fun of the story, actually. He made fun of, never experienced it, made fun of it, and made fun of people that are just so diehard for the story, simping for the story, like she said. And I believe that I was actually getting mad because I was emotionally attached to the happenings in 5.3, and I replied with a video that was a bit more than just objective, and a bit more than just kind of straight listening to my mind, instead of listening to whatever else is reigning over your speech and over your thoughts, maybe. So I deleted that video. That was the end of it, and I totally understood the reaction, and we came to a conclusion. Lynx and I came to a conclusion, and he also tried out the story. And I think apart from some fun that he made out of it, especially The Realm Reborn, it wasn't that bad. So that's just my take here. Except that there are people out there that don't like the story because they just maybe don't like the overall setting and all that stuff. But also accept that people might be emotionally attached to it, and you're really hurting their feelings by telling it. Yeah, it sounds weird, and it sounds like, dude, get a life. But that's how it is. The story is emotionally so intense that it could happen.
Ask any WoW player, they'll probably laugh and agree that their game is toxic as hell. But do not say this about the 14 community. Do not say that passive-aggressive behavior is also problematic. As long as they're not telling you how terrible you are at the game, it's fine if they type things like, "Never had anyone tell me that using the in-game free cure trait was a bad thing, but okay, mentor." I don't know if you've heard this already, but Final Fantasy XIV won the Best Community Award. And if you think some players hide their toxicity behind subtle grieving behaviors, you would be right, but you will also be met with a lot of whataboutisms referring to WoW. The 14 community isn't the best of all time, as the Moist Meter King would say, but they pride themselves on being hashtag better than WoW. Better not piss on that parade. And number 10, it's very similar to number 9. Do not talk badly about the devs. This is one of the most controversial things on this list, and if you talk about the developers in a slightly negative way, and Satan forbid it's about Yoshi P, the 14 Lord and Savior of all people, you will be assassinated. I guarantee it. If you've ever wondered why small indie company is a meme here, it's because some players treat them as if they're a tiny dev team that should never be criticized. You may be thinking to yourself, but they're literally part of Square Enix, which is correct. But how dare you say it out loud? Scroll through the comments and one day there will be at least one person responding to this part of this video. The devs work really hard. They care about the game. They're not greedy like other devs, etc., etc. Which is proof this should be on the list. No worries, human. I'm happy to take this bullet for you. I'm used to it by now. And an extra sore subject for you to avoid. Welcome to our final surprise topic, number 11. This one's crucial, so get out your pen and paper. Do not say you like other MMOs better than 14. If you don't follow any of my other advice on this list,
That's
at
a tough
least
one.
listen to this one. Anything is true about us 14 players. We hate WoW. Terra Online, can't stand it. Lost Ark, damn, that's crazy. Hope he finds it. Blade and Soul, gamers don't have a soul. Yeah, no. If you imply this game isn't the best MMO on the market, you will be shunned. Whenever you try to mention something 14 could improve on, you will always be met with, "But this MMO is worse," which shuts down every conversation on the matter. Don't waste your time. I mean, if you're planning to quit the game for good anyway, you should just use Shout Chat and Limsa Lamenza and say, "Wow, it's so much better than this game. Can't believe believe you weeaboos enjoyed this garbage and sit back to enjoy the carnage. Only use this as a last resort though, because it can inflict psychological damage on Mikote players. And there you have it, folks. 11 things you should never talk about in 14. Unless you want to be universally hated. Then definitely talk about these things. Talk about them a lot. In fact, you should be like the Sephiroth of 14, just popping into our lives with hot takes that no one ever asked for, creating a rift between, I don't know, healers and tanks? Wait, the devs already did that for you. Wait, no, that wasn't me criticizing the devs. A video over now. Stop. Cut the tape. Cut the... I am the one-winged gamer, doing y'all a favor. Bad opinions, but admit they got some flavor. And if you've got some time, here's a run that you can savor. One more reminder, Yoshi P is our savior. A great creator that doesn't need haters, and it makes you a traitor to say you can do greater. Don't know Japanese, but I'm still his translator. Suck his 12-inch potato. Call that a dictator. Eat it up in your crater, or save it for later. Chew you up, spit you out. Masticator. Give it up, Sims, making all our little hearts waver. New novel, seduced by the 14 operator.
Dude! That ending! Wow, amazing. I'm astonished. Her avatar, by the way, yeah, I know why that attracts certain male people. I can completely understand that, even though it's... I would still say it's problematic because she's looking like she's not 18. But that's basically anime. Like, every anime girl that's already 18 doesn't look like that. Except in the old animes. But yeah, the best description of Sephiroth that I've heard. Yeah, I think we have to split the old Sephiroth and the new Sephiroth. The new Sephiroth seems like a bit of a meme to me. In all honesty, I think the worst point and the worst part of Final Fantasy VII Remake is the new Sephiroth. But yeah, that's definitely another topic. Let's cover the last three topics here because they kind of are mixed bag and they fall into each other. First of all, the community of Final Fantasy XIV is the best community I've ever been in. Point. That's... Yeah, you can discuss about that. Of course, you should discuss about that. And the same thing applies to all other games and all other communities. There are also the same bad people in there that you can find in every other game. There's no difference there. I don't know what attracts more reasonable or more sane people, I would say, very, very cautionately here, to Final Fantasy XIV. Maybe the casualism there. I don't know. In general, casualism, even though there are toxic casuals out there, I think casual players are more chill. Mostly. More chill than others. Because they're just not so going all ham that this game is their life and they just need to suck every detail out of it, and if anybody goes against them, hate is going to get real and discussion is going to get real. This kind of also applies for the dev team. It is the best dev team I have yet experienced in my life of being 30 years old and experiencing many games, many developers, and having played a lot of games until now. MMOs, yeah, not MMO, single player games, basically everything. Maybe not the big multiplayer titles like Valorant, like Fortnite, Minecraft. I haven't played these games yet. I can't say about anything about these devs, but compared to what I have experienced yet, this dev team is the best out there because they are caring for the community. They listen to feedback, even though it's so difficult in an MMO environment to listen to your sometimes stupid, I have to say, stupid viewers, because they sometimes don't have a clue. Others have a clue, and you really have to kind of find the good balance between this. Where is the truth? And you have to find it. And they are so good at finding the truth in between. Yeah, that's definitely can be said about the developers. They're also just human beings. They need money to live. They just want to make money. That means if at certain points, they smell the money because of a certain idea that makes sense. Of course, you can't blame them. They're just the same human beings as we are or other people are. Maybe the Japanese mentality is a bit more down to earth than what the American mentality is, for example, or the Western Europe or Europe mentality is. I think that's definitely a big aspect there. But on the other hand, can you imagine any other developer not selling their game because of how successful it is. It's not a meme. It's really, that's a fact, and that's something you have to consider. That's definitely not a move that you just do out of calculations and out of being super schemy behind everything and trying to make the big deal afterwards or in the great scheme of things. So I would say that's the best indicator of how good this developer team is. But of course, you should be allowed to talk bad about them. I think that's always the community problem. Like, if you can't, I have experienced this many times, you should be able to throw in criticism where it's due. That's the biggest point. If you're getting criticized for throwing out criticism, that's also fine. But if you're getting blamed, you're getting called out, you're getting called bad names for just criticizing very, very reasonably, it's just people. Like, you should not care. I made a video about how I liked some of the aspects. That's it. If you can't find any content being uploaded from my point, or no streams are happening after this sentence I'm speaking out now, I have been assassinated. That's true. You can you know that. You are my witnesses right now. But Shadowlands, I just talked about that yesterday with a friend. Shadowlands is not bad. Shadowlands might actually be the best MMO version out there right now when it comes to all aspects of the game, PvP included, progression. But here's the big but. Here's the big but. The big but. Developers, and that's exactly the point of Blizzard Entertainment. Might it be the problems inside the company itself or whatever leads to this problem? They don't care. Shadowlands started as an exceptional expansion, something I haven't expected from WoW in decades. But they just didn't do anything about the game. They didn't continue any idea. They just left it. They just left it alone. And that's when the game dies. Like, if you have balancing issues, like somebody's a moonkin and one-shots you with one single button, there is definitely some issue. And if the developers don't address that for more than 2 months, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I like orchids. Thank you, Matt. I think orchids are fine. But yeah, I hope you can understand. Okay, look at that. Some viewers have left. No, I think that's just Twitch, but would be funny if I would just say that and people are going, nah, he said something good about WoW, let's leave here. How can you do that? I can. I wouldn't say it's better in every aspect. It's better in PvP, definitely. It's arguing around that is just stupid. PvP in WoW is definitely better than in Final Fantasy XIV. And right now, I hope that this will change at some point. But yeah, right now it's exactly like that. I do enjoy PvE more in Final Fantasy XIV because I think raiding in WoW is just super boring. Because of how easy the rotations are, or they're just not comparable to Final Fantasy XIV's rotations. And of course, all the aspects here, like all that stuff, the community aspect, the social aspect, the graphics, the world, the immersion, the story, the music, everything is, of course, better on Final Fantasy XIV. But please hear me out. I hope that no assassin is already on my door. These are all aspects of a single-player game. What make a single-player game amazing, or maybe a sub-multiplayer game, not an MMO. And here is what makes an MMO great is gearing. Gearing systems are flawed in Final Fantasy XIV. I know, I do like that you have a very, very good catch-up mechanic. You don't have these, you have to play constantly aspects that I hate in WoW. I hate that in WoW. But on the other hand, it's getting boring super quickly. Like, you know exactly what is happening. You know exactly what gear you can get at which point. And that's what I really hope they address in the future and change a bit. It doesn't have to be trinkets. It doesn't have to be tier sets like it is in WoW. But right now, I think this is the only, comparable MMO that you can drag some ideas from, or instead, which would be the better solution, create something unique by yourself. I hope that they will do that in 7.0 to make this game different than what we had already. Yes, people do love that the game is so consistent, so stable, and reliant. You can rely on this game like a solid rock. But if you play this game like I do for basically every expansion since now, it's basically always the same when it comes to gear progression, when it comes to how raids are designed mechanical-wise, gameplay-wise, and how you go and tackle content. That's just my 2 cents. No game right now at the market is perfect. That's the problem. And I think if we accept this fact and point this out to be a fact, I think games can only get better. And I hope that the community is not only hating on these aspects. If somebody is throwing out criticism that has some valid points and solid arguments, it's nobody wants to destroy your game, or nobody wants, hey, I want this to be in the game that they do in WoW better. Like, no. We want to have our Final Fantasy XIV version of this idea. Just simply the idea, not the whole thing. Just the idea. And that's the key aspect here. I hope that you actually like this nice avatar in the background when I'm talking so much. I didn't think that this caught me off guard, kind of, the topics here. The final topic was... Sorry.
No, that wasn't me criticizing the devs.
What's the devs? The devs?
You should be like the Sephiroth of 14. Or talk about in 14. Unless you want to be universally hated, then definitely talk about these things. Talk about them a lot. In fact, you should be like the Sephiroth of...
Okay, yeah, it's the devs. That was 11, right? Community, MMO. Yeah, we haven't talked about the 10.10. Exactly, that's the point. If I tell you that WoW is better in certain aspects than Final Fantasy XIV, it's straight spitting facts. Like, do you actually believe, do some people actually believe that this game is superior in each aspect, in every single aspect? That is just stupid and nonsensical because of how long World of Warcraft is on the market right now. It doesn't make sense. They have to be at least better in certain ways. And if it's just how you are interconnected with other players, you can play with literally every other friend you have in your friend list, no matter on which server they are. They just have to be in the same data center. Yeah, I know. That's kinda in Final Fantasy XIV as well, but you have to compare that directly in the way that Final Fantasy XIV is still a bit smaller when it comes to the data center division and all that stuff. So it's not the same. I think the overall BattleNet system is a bit more worked out properly because they have way more manpower and knowledge about this whole thing. And that's just one aspect where WoW, it might be better than Final Fantasy XIV. There are so many other aspects where Final Fantasy XIV is better than WoW. But yeah, if people are just crying or just getting angry, calling Will Smith to their support to slap me, if I just tell that WoW has certain positive aspects and certain aspects where it shines, then they have definitely a problem themselves. It's not my problem. And I will stand there like Chris Rock did, and I will take the slap just to state my opinion. That I give you this promise. I will stand there like a man, like Chris Rock did, and take the slap so that I'm still standing for my opinion here. True, WoW still has the superior glam system while Final Fantasy has better glam. Yeah, exactly. The overall glam system is better in WoW because you don't have to physically have the item in your inventory or in any storage. You just have this, you loot this once and you get this item unlocked. You can use it whenever you want for your glam. On the other hand, gear looks, I would say, 10 to 15 times better in Final Fantasy XIV than it does in WoW. But there are people that don't like the art style of Final Fantasy because it's too realistic or too Japanese, whatever. So they like WoW more. So it's always opinion, guys. I think that's actually the conclusion of the whole topic here. It's just people having different opinions, and that's how it is every time. Every time. Graphics in 14 are way better. Yes, partially they are definitely way better, but there are aspects where Final Fantasy 14 is trash. Like, look at grass. Touch grass. Touch grass. It looks horrible in 14 sometimes. They have to improve this. Okay, guys. I think that sums the whole idea up. Don't do anything against the community. Don't say anything against the devs unless you have good arguments, because that's what should always protect you from being violated, should always be protect you from being abused and protect you from harm, verbally harm in particular, and never fear keyboard warriors. They can't harm you, except they're just professional hackers. Then maybe they can harm you and hack your account or whatever, hack your bank account especially. But yeah, don't fear to stand in for your opinion. That's basically my last words on this topic. Stand in for your opinion as long as it's argumented well. You should not fear getting blamed, getting flamed, getting a shitstorm, because if you are setting out these arguments well and they are reasonable and they make sense, it's just their hate and their opinion that tries to destroy it. And sometimes they're even more angry because you are having the right argument. And that's basically the whole idea.